Hey folks, welcome back. I'm Tim Toolman. This is another episode of Car Show and Tell, and today we're going to be working on putting another antenna, power antenna unit in our C4 Corvette. So follow along, we'll figure out how this is going to work.
Go.
The first thing that we've got to do is get our license plate off the car. Oh, don't forget the top screws if you've got two at the top. We're going to take this off, then we can get in here behind it. You can cut.
Go.
Looks like the next thing we might want to do here is take, if there's a retainer on this light, push with your thumb, and then you can twist this reverse lamp bulb out of the way, and we're just going to leave that hang over to the other side. But with this lamp out of the road, I think we're going to have a whole lot more room to get our arm up back here to work with our headlight, or our tail lamps. So these are 7mm fasteners here, and I think take these two out and this lamp assembly will come away. On the back side. Not quite sure. Okay. I think there's a pair of tabs that have to be depressed to get this out of here. There we go. Okay, I just kind of pushed this a little bit backwards and out of the way to get these tabs to come out of those slots. Oh, no, it's face. And don't lose your fasteners. Okay, now with this out of the way, we should be able to get our arms way back up here, and there's a pair of 10mm. There's a pair of 10mm fasteners in these lights. One about here, and the other one about, well, about right there, it feels like. So where my finger and my thumb are. And you're gonna have to, like I said, you're gonna have to work your arm back in there with a short 10mm socket on it and try to get those lights out.
Hey.
And I'm thinking it would probably be better to get both of them out of the way, just to give ourselves as much access as we possibly can. I mean, the alternative to this, I think, is taking the whole rear end, the whole rear bumper cover off, but that seems like it's going to be way more work than just trying to work some of this stuff out of the way, especially if you got skinny arms. So, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to assume that both of these tail lamps are the same, so I'm going to work the fasteners. There's one. I'll work the fasteners out of those, and then we'll pick up from there. Once you've got your fasteners out of here, there's just a little tab on here that you push and then twist, and that'll come out of that, and you can set your lamp off to the side. And then it looks like we can get to the number 2, the outboard lamp, through the hole made by the first lamp. And I think I'm just going to leave that sit in there feel around in here for a fastener. Yeah, they're in roughly, yep, they're in roughly the exact same place. So once you got this light out, go through that hole for the second lamp. Okay, so we've got both lamps out, and we can see down through here to where our power antenna assembly resides. And I see a big plastic nut up at the top here that I'm sure spins off. Yep, that's threaded and turns. But more importantly, what's behind it here, where I'm pointing to, is that's the pass-through for our antenna wire and our power wiring. And I'm gonna need to see if there isn't another bracket that holds it in down below, but I'd be willing to bet that there is. Okay, there is another bracket up underneath of it that holds it on with a pair of nuts from the bottom. I'm not going to worry about that right now. We'll come back to that later. Right now, we're going to get in here. We're going to remove our speaker panel and pull our carpet and trim back. Maybe I might take that piece off. We'll see. So I had thought that the wires had passed through somewhere in the back of this speaker pocket. That's why I had taken that speaker out. But now I'm not quite so sure. So there's a liner in there that I can't seem to feel past. But I'm going to pull this panel up off the back. And the way you get that off is there's a latch, or there's a handle right here. You just pry that handle up and off. You take all your screws out, including the one here and there, and then you can pop this, pop that end up and over, pop this piece, this end up and over, right, and then wiggle that forward and it comes right off. So I am going to search in through here and find, oh, that might be it, my antenna wiring. There it is. Just take that foam out. Here we have it. Here's some antenna wiring. That looks like the exact same colors of those antenna wires. So let's see where that goes. Okay, so here's our relay for our power antenna. We can disconnect the wires from our relay by depressing the tab on the connector. And then there, up underneath here, is a small black plastic retainer that you have to open a clasp on and fold open, and then you can get those wires out of that retainer. Over here on the side it's a little trickier because we have our power antenna. I'm in the way. Our radio antenna connection is up underneath here, and if we pull this piece of trim, pull the screw out, you can pull it up, and oh,
Don't pull too hard.
first is the rail. First thing that has to come out is the rail that our sunshade slides on. So take the screws out of that, take that off, and then here is our connector, if you can see it.
Get your head up out of the way. It's that silver thing.
It's the silver
Right there.
and I'm trying to figure out how it comes apart. I thought maybe it was just a pull, but maybe it's a twist.
Or a screw.
So let me just hit pause, I'll figure this out. Alright, so I used a couple of pair of pliers to get this connector apart. grabbing one end of this connector with one pair of pliers and pulling this rubber cover back and pulling the other end of this connector with another pair of pliers to get this apart, because this connector has some retaining clips and it sort of locks itself. This side of the connector will lock itself into the other side unless you really pull with a bunch of force. So there it is. It's apart. Let's see if I can figure out how to get all this out. Okay, I'm underneath the car now, and these two nuts, if you can see them right here, those two nuts and that bracket are going to have to come off. And there's also a ground strap that has to come off, but trying to find a place where I can film this. Right here is a plastic clip that holds this ground strap on, and you're gonna have to unclip it and open this up with a flat blade screwdriver or something. I can't get it with my fingers, so open that clip up, take the ground strap out of it, and the other end of the ground strap is attached back here behind where this sway bar is. It's going to kind of be a pain in the ass to try to remove that fastener. You probably can reach up there and take it out of there, but I think it might make more sense to remove it from this power antenna mechanism. If I can get down, I can shoot it. The other end's attached to the power antenna mechanism, so once that mechanism comes out, maybe it would make more sense to remove the ground strap from it once it's out. Okay, so we have those fasteners and that ground strap removed from, actually got it off the chassis where it was attached by the sway bar. That wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to have my helper, Henry, he's going to go up top, and I'm going to work on this rubber grommet, and he's going to carefully guide the power wires and the antenna wire towards me from the inside while I work these wires out from the hole in the tail lamp. Okay, here's this rubber plug that I was talking about. It passes our power wires and our antenna wire through it. That's out, and our two plug-ins are out. So I think the last thing I should have to do is reach in here. There's a big plastic collar in here, right here at the top of this antenna, and I think if I turn this counterclockwise, it should thread off, and this antenna should drop down out of the bottom of the car from behind the quarter panel. Okay, here you want to take this. Hey, here we go.
That's the whole thing.
That's out.
That's it.
Now, I have been told there are maybe 4 or 5 different possible combinations of antenna that GM made, and it's important to try to note which one this is before you go trying to order parts for it. So I'm going to look this up and see if this isn't a part number for the assembling, or if that's not the part number for the assembly. This might have been a replacement already, so let's go see what we can find on it. Alright, so here we have our antenna, and this part number 220-62596, that is the GM part number for the antenna. We can see that this was a replacement already at one point. I think maybe from the 1990s. We can see where the wires were cut and spliced and then wrapped in the electrical tape that I peeled off. So I think the motor was replaced separate of the rest of the antenna body. And we can see there's two wires here that are cut, so that won't work. I imagine it's because this thing stopped working, stopped going up and down, and somebody didn't want to hear the motor run anymore, so they just reached under and cut some wires. So I'm going to take this portion, kind of disconnect it if we can, and I can move this, and I don't hear anything moving down here, which leads me to believe that the flexible strip that coils down around here and comes up through the center of the antenna mast is probably broken, and that's why it stopped working. A little flat blade, come in here, get pretty close. Just wedge this under these clips and put my finger on them so they don't go flying when they come off. I think I'm finished bleeding now, so we can continue. And it looks like there's 5 of these little pain in the butt clips. Okay, so I'm just wedging under the edge and wedging that edge up, trying to. And then when it's in here pretty far, I can try to twist it the other way. A whole lot of room. Now, which sides? Looks like it's riveted together as well. There's a rivet here, a rivet here, and a rivet here. So I'm not sure if I got a drill. I have to drill those rivets out as well. It looks as though that may be the case, because this is bending, but over here by the rivet, this is not. So I better get my drill in a bit and drill these rivets out of here. And then hopefully I can get this thing apart. Running? Okay, I've got a 1/4 inch bit in, and I'm going to drill these rivets. Spinning. The rivet is spinning in the plastic. can get underneath. If I can get underneath of it and pry the edge up, maybe that'll keep it still. Ah. I think it's melting the plastic a bit. Yes, indeed. This is turning into more of a pain than I thought it was going to be. But what I'm going to do is pry up all around this rivet. Pry the edge of it up and then get a hold of it with pliers and squeeze it till it fills or fits through that hole. If I can. Nope, we need some needle nose. Okay, I'm going to pause that. Grab me a second. Okay, I'm just squeezing this with the needle nose, trying to peel this head off, or at least compress it down to a size where it'll pass back through this hole where the rivet's passed. Ooh. There's the head of it. Peel the rest and shred it out this way. There's one rivet. One down, two to go. But at least I know that'll open up now. So I'll have to do that 2 more times. Let's see how it goes. You can cut for right now. It's going. So drilling them out's not going well. I would suggest just working around them with a small flat blade and bending this collar up till you can get a hold of it with a pair of needle nose and smashing it down to go back through the hole. That seems to be really the only practical way of doing this. And it's kind of slow and tedious, but it is what it is. So I'll get this one out, and there's a third one, but I'm not going to bother filming that because I think you probably get the idea. Suffice it to say, it's a pain. You think the little clips that they put on here would be good enough, but I guess not. So I guess they wanted a secondary means of closure for this mechanism. Here's the second rivet. One more right here. So let's get that camera off.
Yep.
All right, we got those rivets out. Let's see what we find in here. I don't know if it's glued as well. And glued. Glued, riveted, and clipped. Holy cow.
You really don't want anyone getting in that thing.
Yeah, they don't. Ah, you know what? It's got another rivet. Stick it. It's got one down through the center, right here. The fourth rivet. Heavens to Murgatroyd. It's just spinning as well. Okay. Well, you can cut that. There's a fourth rivet down in the center here. So I'm going to have to try to peel this thing out. And we'll pick up from there. Hopefully we can pry this thing apart with the fourth rivet out. That's it.
It's going.
Okay, now we got that fourth rivet out. Maybe we can finally get this apart. There we go. Okay. Yes, it appears that this is broken. So, how does that come out of there? Like so. Okay. So, I'm guessing this thing runs till it binds up one way or the other. This hooks on to the spool and we'll draw it back or push it out depending on which way this turns. The other end is attached to the mast. So now that the motor's off, I need to figure out how this mast comes apart. You can stop while I figure this out. Going?
Go.
Okay. On the bottom of our aerial assembly, we see a white plastic plug here. And I discovered that it's threaded. When you turn it counterclockwise, it comes out. And I believe, there we go. Come on. Oh, that won't come past that. That, I think, is threaded on as well. So, okay, so it looks like there's a finial on the top of this mast that's supposedly threaded on here, and we should be able to spin it off. You tried a pair of pliers and I couldn't get anywhere with those, so let me try I'm gonna try a vice grip and an adjustable and see if I can't. Nope, I think that's working. So when I tried before, I was just spinning the mast in the pliers grip, but there we go. It actually came off. Now, I understand that I should be able to remove this whole works now. You might not have to remove the entire works, but this, there we go. Should come out of the rest of the antenna. And we want to save that. And I think the piece that I can order to repair this is either just the plastic bit or it's the metal and the plastic bit. I'm going to clean this up. It's all greasy, but yeah, this is crimped together. So I'm thinking it'll be the metal and the plastic bit that I'm going to order to repair this. And it's probably going to take a little time to get here. So what I'm going to do for now is, aside from the motor, I am going to fix the wiring connections that are cut, and I'm going to bag that up. But the rest of this stuff, save for this broken bit here, the rest of this stuff is going to go into a bath of warm soapy water with a brush, and it's all going to get cleaned up, including my hands. So we'll be back after that. Alright, so here we are. We got everything cleaned and bagged up for reassembly and repair later on. I placed an order for another one of these. Seems to be reasonably inexpensive. It was $23.50 plus tax and shipping, whatever. I think it came out to less than 35 bucks for the replacement part, which hopefully should fix this on the cheap. I am not going to put a link in the description. I'm not going to say anything about it now because I don't know if that part works or not. I don't know if it's a good quality part or not. So if it shows up and it's absolute dog crap, I don't want to be, I don't want to go recommending that to people if it's no good. So, we'll see what happens. But we're ready when that arrives to have a look at it and start reassembling it. And when that time comes, if that looks like a good quality replacement part, then I'll make that video and I'll leave a link for it there. So if you've gotten this far, look for the next video when that comes out. Should be in a week, and you'll see how it works out. And if it's decent, you'll know where to get it for yourself. So hopefully that should be a much less expensive proposition than replacing the antenna outright with a new one. You can do that if you want, and they go for about $170 to $200 depending on where you're ordering it from, maybe a little bit more with tax and shipping. And you could always go from there, just order a brand new replacement and swap that into the car. I didn't want to spend that much, so hoping to do this for a grand total of less than $220s. So we'll see how that works out. So I'm going to wrap it up. I'm Tim Toolman, this is Car Show and Tell. If you haven't yet already, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And I hope you learned something today, what to do or what not to do. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.